Hello, this is another video about acrylic techniques, and today I want to talk about how you change from one colour through to another with the dry brush blending technique. We're going to be using this technique in the classes this week, and it's important that you're able to move very smoothly between one colour and another. The background on this picture changes from light tones into dark tones without hopefully there being a noticeable line where dark grey becomes light grey here. And so this technique is a dry brush technique. I'm just going to use these three paints, an orange, well, a red, a yellow and a white, and I'm just going to try and brush from one colour to another without ending up with a really strong line where the colours change. Now, as I did last week, the brush that I use is damp rather than wet. So although I put a little bit of water on it, I then get rid of the water on the newspaper or on some tissue so that it's not a really wet brush going in. And I'm going to start with my lightest colour, which I would normally do, which in this case is white. So as I start to put the paint on, I just brush in all directions. I'm working on a bit of recycled cardboard box here. I've just put a coat of emulsion over it. And this is ideal if you want to practice techniques without practicing actually on a canvas. So I'm brushing in all directions here, and then gradually I just add a little bit of my next colour. And normally I leave a little bit of a gap between the yellow and the white here. I start putting on the yellow, and actually with a bit of white I start to blend these colours together. Now you can see at the moment I've got a really strong change between the white and the yellow. I should have prepared another brush ready so that actually with the dry brush I could smooth these two colours together, but for the moment I'll try and do it with a bit of white like that. And gradually, as the yellow becomes stronger and there's less white in it, this is a really deep yellow, so it is already tending towards orange. I'm going to go from there into my red, and I'm working quite quickly so that the paint doesn't have a chance to dry, and I'm trying to brush the colours in together so that they blend fairly seamlessly from white to yellow to red. Now at the moment they're not really doing that. You're able to see where I've got a big jump between red, between orange, between yellow and white. So you just keep brushing the colours together, hoping they don't dry in between, because you're trying to make a really smooth transition between one and another. One way of doing that is to take the paint off on a piece of tissue and then with a really dry brush start to work over those joins. Maybe adding a bit more white in if we want to change back to the lighter pink here. You say normally I'd have other brushes here ready to do this job, but if you haven't got another brush with you, be ready to get rid of the colour that's on your brush so that you can soften those areas between one colour and the next. I'm just going to work on that a little bit more so that we get it softly going from one to the next. But you can see already that the change between the red through to the pink through to the orange is already quite soft. I've just got a bit of work to do as it goes into the yellow, and then as it goes back into the white. And just by adding a little bit more white, it's easy enough just to get the light changing, going very, very softly from one to another like that. And you can see already, although that does still need a bit of work, it is actually getting quite soft, the change between the two. And the idea is that you'll end up with this sort of transition from here through to here. And that could be any colours, that could be dark blue through to pale pink. Anything where you've got a darker tone and a lighter tone, you want to be able to try and get that subtle changing one from the next. Right, I think actually we'll stop there. So I'm just going to leave this one to dry with its colour change. This was my practice on a piece of cardboard. But working on canvas, obviously it's dried nice and quickly. I haven't gone quite so much for the yellow there, but I have got this gradual colour change. And the next thing I'm going to do is a bit of a perspective exercise on top of the canvas. So my next stage is to draw some squares on, and I'll come back to you in a minute. I've started to draw some squares on my canvas. I quite like drawing with a pastel pencil on a dried acrylic canvas because you can soon rub out any mistakes that you make. So in this instance, I'm going to draw rectangles and squares onto the canvas, and then I'm going to make a vanishing point, which in my case is going to be here. From the corners of the nearest rectangle, you draw a line from the corner down to the vanishing point, and you do that with anything that is on this side of the rectangle. I would then move to this rectangle over here and take it from the corner to the vanishing point, from the corner to the vanishing point. Most rectangles will have two sides that you need to draw in, but some, like this one here, I think will only have one, as it comes from the corner down to the vanishing point. So I'm going to just get on and draw those extra lines in, and then I'll show you when I've finished. I'm going to paint the tops of all the boxes in a light colour, and then as they go down towards the light, I'm going to go from light through to dark. So it'll be darkest at the vanishing point, and then hopefully these light background tones will show through. So I've started putting in the lines from the corners that go right the way to the vanishing point. If you start with the ones that are nearest, then these ones further away, obviously the lines are going to be hidden behind other blocks. It's as though you're looking down on blocks of flats or tower blocks, and so some of the lines are actually hidden behind other lines. I've just got this last one to do, so vanishing point and corner, and there's only that little bit showing on this one, and then there's that corner to the vanishing point, and then there's that corner. And so some have got two sides showing, but some have only got one. So there it is drawn up. I've given the end squares the first layer of paint. They may need a second coat, but it's just to give you an idea that the tops are going to be light, and now I'm going to work down all the ones that are at the bottoms and run down to the vanishing point like these. I'm going to go in with red, I think, on those, and maybe go from light red through to dark red at the vanishing point. I'm doing the right hand side of each column in yellow. It's a bit transparent, so it might need another coat, but it just separates it from the other side. Some of the lighter squares will need a second coat, so I'm just going over with a very pale colour to be the ends of the towers. I'm going to put an outliner around all the edges, so that should neaten them up.